This is the Unapologetic Entrepreneur Podcast, a podcast for passionate entrepreneurs just like yourself who are looking to create a profitable and productive business that you are proud of. On this show, we explore entrepreneurship success stories, but not just the highlights. We get into the nitty-gritty details so that you know more about the path traveled to achieve that success. See, I'm on a mission to help you never feel like a failure again when it comes to achieving your goals. And so much of that is setting realistic expectations of the effort needed, goals that align with the season of your life, and ensuring that you have the accountability in place that you need. So on this podcast, you can expect real conversations, practical tips, and lots of encouragement along the way so that you have everything you need to follow through and actually achieve your definition of success. So if you're ready to go from unsure to unapologetic, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. The way that we have been taught to set goals has really set us up for failure, and we have got to flip the script to set more realistic goals, which is exactly what I know you want to do, and I'm excited that you're here today because we're going to talk about calculating your capacity, because when you do this, before you set your goal, you're truly setting yourself up for success, and I am thrilled to show you this method. And if you and I have not met before, I am Amanda McKinney, and I am a coach for ambitious entrepreneurs, but don't worry, this method works for anyone, even if you are not an entrepreneur. But this method has allowed me to do things like publish a book and be consistent on a podcast for more than 5 years. This method allows you to really adjust as life throws you curveballs. And it has certainly done that over my time of entrepreneurship and in life in general. So I know where you're coming from, and I promise you this method is going to change the game for you. So I want to remind you that you can do it all. And I truly believe that you can. I bet, because I've worked with a lot of people, that you have a list of ideas that you want to accomplish. You have things that you want to do in your life. And I know, and I believe that you can do it all, but we can't do it all at the same time. And so what you have to do is you have to know your current season of life and take into that capacity as you're setting goals, but then you can check them off one at a time. Because when you have that focus, you can actually follow through and actually achieve the goals that you want to achieve. So when we look at calculating your capacity, the first thing I want you to think about is your working hours. Now, if you are an entrepreneur and you're looking at a business goal, it could be your actual working hours in your business. But this method goes for everything. So let's say you want to write a book. How many hours can you dedicate per week to write that book? Realistically, because in our mind, we think I can do it, right? Because you have time. But how many hours do you actually have? How much time do you actually have? I want you to dedicate a certain amount of time. When you're able to do this, it doesn't have to be the same time every day or the same time every week, but how many hours can you dedicate on a regular basis towards a specific goal? Whether it's writing a book, starting the podcast, starting the business, growing the business, running a marathon, whatever it is that you want to do, how much time can you actually dedicate towards it? Knowing this is going to change the game just by itself, but the rest of the part really helps as well. Step number 2 is identifying a specific timeline when you're thinking about setting a goal. Now, I recommend 90-day goals. This is because our brain works really well with seasonality, and 90 days is a great season. Because when we think about setting a goal for the year or a 5-year vision, those are wonderful. But we never know what's coming towards us with life. And life has thrown me certainly so many curveballs. And of course, it impacts 90-day goals as well. But generally speaking, you can tell what's happening in the next 90 days. And again, the seasonality of the year really comes into play with this as well. So for this example, we're going to look at the 90 days between June 3rd and August 31st. This is 90 days, and I chose summer because summer tends to throw people off. Our schedules are really wonky, and we somehow lose track of goals over the summer. So I chose this to show you that you can do this anytime, but summer is a really tough one. So you can stay on track with your goals during the summer as well. But again, this can be applied any time of the year and any amount of days. The next thing you're going to do is actually subtract full days. So what you're looking at here is weekends and vacation. Now, I have done this with hundreds of people. And so generally speaking, we go down from 90 days, we go down to about 50 to 60 days. So very quickly, we're taking off 30 days of working time. And this is the aha moment I want you to have. Now, yours is going to be specific to your life and your capacity, your season. But generally speaking, you take off a lot of time, and I'll show you exactly how this happens. But I want you to have the moment that so many of my clients have had of, oh, I really need to understand when I want to take time off and not work towards this goal, because you're creating a life that you love. And I want you to continue doing that. And so if you're always working towards something, that might be a little difficult for you. So you want to take time off too. So the specific example here is during the summer. So a lot of people take vacation during the summer. So I've marked off a 2-week vacation, which is 14 days. Now, I know that not everyone takes a straight 2-week vacation. I totally understand that we are not capable of doing that all the time, but I wanted you to see it concentrated on here. Now, what this could look like is 14 days off, but it's spread out throughout the 90 days. Maybe you take a few long weekends. Maybe you take a day off here or there. It doesn't matter what it looks like in terms of the exact days, but I want you to actually plot your vacation time or time off for whatever reason on the calendar and actually remove it from your work schedule. Because if you are thinking that you can work towards a goal for 90 days, that is unrealistic. So we have to get a more realistic picture. And then we take off weekends. And over the course of June 3rd to August 31st, it takes out 25 days. If you take off, which I hope you do, weekends. Now, your weekends may be different than Saturday and Sunday. It doesn't necessarily have to be those, but for the sake of this example, we marked off Saturday and Sundays, and that's 25 days. So now we've gone from 90 days to 51 working days. This is the moment, my friend. This is the moment I need you to have. I need you to see this in a realistic way. And this is taking off the full days. So the next thing, and this step is admittedly a little harder because it's a little bit different in terms of time, but we want to subtract hours. Now, the full days are easy. Weekends off, vacations off, right? You can mark off the whole day. In this step, subtracting hours, I want you to think about dentist appointments, doctor's appointments, hair appointments, carpool time, lunches with friends, that art class you're taking, whatever it is that you're doing that is already on the calendar. Please count for it realistically. Now, most people push back a little bit on this one and they say, Amanda, how am I supposed to know when I'm going to have lunch with a friend 90 days from now? And I understand that. Those things are more sporadic, and I totally get that. But we are creatures of habit. We are human beings who love having a habitual routine. So if you go back and are truly honest with yourself and look at the last 90 days, the last 6 months of your life, you will find routine. You will find that maybe it's once a month you have lunch with a friend. Maybe it's once a week. It may not be the same friend, but you can see a pattern. I promise you, I've done this with so many people, including myself. You will find a pattern. Now that pattern is interrupted on a regular basis, but find the pattern. Find the pattern in your habits. If you are a parent and you know that carpool is part of your life, please count for that. Don't think that it's not going to be there, because it's just going to be frustrating when you're like, oh, I wish I could be working towards this thing. No, I want you to be present with whatever it is. If you're taking that art class, I want you to enjoy that art class. If you're doing things with friends, if you're taking a long vacation or a long weekend, these are the things we have to account for. So in step number 4, we're really looking at those things that take up time during the day, but it might not be a full day. So what this can look like, I'm going to show you 2 examples of this. One is kid carpool. Now, I work with a lot of parents, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I work with so many people who have started a business because they wanted to be able to spend time with their kids. And so very specifically, I want to call attention to this, because if you want to spend time with your kids, or if you don't have kids and you want to take that art class, you want to run that marathon, you want to do these things, you have to carve out the time. You have to make it a realistic thing that you're doing. And so for carpool, I am saying that this takes half a day. Most of the time people are like, what in the world? It doesn't take half a day to do that. But it really does. By the time that you get in the car, you drive to school, you drop off, you come back home or go to the office or whatever it is, that's a lot of time. And then at the end of the day, when you're picking up and most likely driving to different activities, it's kind of a wash the rest of the day. And we have to be realistic. Now, if you can sneak in some work time after that, that's great. But you don't want to count on it, because so often it can't happen. So make it a bonus if it can happen, right? So if we said that kids go back to school on August 14th and we're looking at our 90 days ends on the 31st. So the 14th all the way through the 30th, we're taking 6.5 days because remember, it's half days. And so that takes you down. We started with 90 days. Now we're down to 44.5 days. Now, this is assuming that you're working a full day towards your goal, which is not the case. You really have to apply your how many hours. So if you only work 4 hours a week towards your goal, then you need to anticipate only working 4 hours a week. But you can see how many days you have left towards working towards your goal. Another example is when those 6.5 days are scattered. So maybe you have hair appointment, doctor appointment, you have lunches with friends. Again, things like maybe you go grocery shopping the same day every single week and it takes a few hours. Maybe you clean your house the same day every single week and it takes a few hours. The thing is that we often overlook these things that do take our time. And so if you know that you're doing these things on a routine basis, please start accounting for it, because the more realistic you are, the more realistic your goals can be. So what you want to do is take into account your actual capacity. So again, you've gone from 90 days down to 44.5 days. Then what you do, once you know your actual capacity, now that was an example, but once you know your specific capacity for the next 90 days or however long you want to look at it, then you set your goal based on your actual capacity, not the ideal situation. So many times we are looking down the road at someone else or down the way at someone else and saying, but she's got so much more time. And instead of saying, it's okay that she has more time than I have right now, but what time do I have? What can I accomplish? How close can I get to my goal in the next 90 days? Maybe it'll take longer, as it usually does, than what we want, right? Any goal worth achieving is going to take a little bit longer than we want it to. But if we can set realistic goals, we can feel that pride in our progress, and we can actually feel good along the way, which is exactly what I want you to do. So if you haven't accessed this yet, I want you to access my capacity calculator. This allows you to put some numbers in. It spits out a very specific number for you. I've already done the work. The math is in the spreadsheet for you. So you can access that completely for free at amandamckinney.com/calculator. And I want you to know that I believe in you 100%. I know that whatever is on your heart right now, whatever the desire is that you want to do, I know you can accomplish it. But we need to be realistic with your capacity so that you can feel proud of the progress you're making. So enjoy calculating your capacity and setting those goals. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you found it helpful or inspiring, be sure to share it with someone else who could use it too. Sharing is caring, but it's also a huge boost to your accountability. Sharing this message and then talking about it will ensure that you actually take the action that was mentioned in this episode. Hello, accountability. There's nothing better than the feeling of actually following through, and I want that for you. So screenshot it, share it, and if you share it on Instagram, be sure to tag me at @TheAmandaMcKinney too. Until next time.